Hello, in this video we will take a quick look at the record in C#9. Okay, it's a new thing, and some say it's a very useful thing. Now, I don't necessarily say that. I do believe it is a usable thing, unlike many of these new features. It is also quite readable. But let's jump into that and I'll have some final thoughts later. Now, you can see right here, we have an application, a console application, C# console application, and in that we have program.cs. Nothing fancy, just a very basic arrangement. Okay, if we go here into the code, you will find some arrangements in the main method, and then we have the record. Now you can see that the record is very similar to a class. Specifically, a record would be used for a model, okay, for some kind of a data model. We do this quite often with classes, of course, and some believe that this should be a replacement for that, or better than that, or something than that, right? So it is kind of a similar thing. You can do this quite easily in a class, and the whole arrangement would be quite similar. You would have public class, okay, so instead of a public record, you would have a public class, test class, we might call it. In this case, we call it test record, right? Very simple, the same, almost the same exact thing as a class. Now, there are some underlying reasons, but as you may know if you have seen some of my other material, I do not get into those things. Mainly, I do not care about those things because most of the issues come from basic development mistakes rather than some underlying choices of what might be in this kind of a memory and what might be in other kind of a memory access arrangement. Usually those things don't matter much. Okay, so let's stick to the basics, okay, to what we actually see. And here we see public record, test record we call it, okay, it's going to be the name for this type. And then we have three values, value 1, value 2, and value 3. All of them integers, nothing fancy here. But as you can see, the first one we have is get and then init, okay, init, initialize, right? Then we have get set, the second one, and the final one is again get init. This init is probably the unique thing in this record compared to a class. This is kind of a recordish thing, and this basically prevents you from entering or adjusting that value after it has been constructed. So only in the constructor you can set that value. Okay, with set you'll be able to do it any way you want to. Okay, so we have right here variable obj, stands for object, of course, and we have new test record constructed like that, and then you can see we have a set value 1 and value 3. We can do that here, but if I were to uncomment these like that, you see we have an error. We have an error because it is not allowed. Okay, we cannot do that anymore. This can be useful. This can be very useful if you're doing some of these arrangements and then you're giving someone else to finish it, to adjust it, or just in general someone else has to work on these things, and we might get a bit of a clue if this exists. If they can't access the value, it may help them, right? So we can do that, we can prevent the access, and as you can see, if it is set right here, set to set, it will be available for setting after the construction has happened. Now, as you can see, this is not a particularly useful thing. It maybe makes it a bit more readable, but I doubt it. I think a good old class object, class model works quite well, and it is quite readable. And although I may try this in a new project, I would definitely not do that in any of my older projects, existing projects. I believe it is a waste of time. There is really no good reason to do that. Now, I hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe to this channel for some more content, and do also take a look at my courses if you want to learn some C# related topics such as Blazor, WPF, API development, and other different things.